What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Command, a D&D football podcast. Well, it's just one D tonight. It's your man, Darian D.H. Williams, a.k.a. DH on the mic on X. My partner, D-Mitty, is out sick tonight, so y'all keep him in your prayers. He just got a little bit of the sniffles. He'll be all right. I think the wind kind of took the wind out of everybody's sails. So much to talk about, so much to get into. And as always, we promise you guys that we're going to bring you the best guests with the most detailed information that we can find. So I scoured the earth. I scoured X, every social media site, and I said, who could we find to talk about football, but kind of help us count, kind of teach us how to count a little bit? Now, before I mention who that is, I want to remind you, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And of course, if you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you can get your 5 seconds of fame. That's it. That's all. Of course, we love all the comments and everything. So y'all keep sharing and make sure you follow us on X at Breaking Command Pod. It's, of course, BRKNG. Leave the vowels out. We don't need those for this. We're gonna leave them for the rest of it. But make sure you follow Breaking Command Pod on X for all the latest and greatest Commanders news and notes every Wednesday with a brand new episode. So back to what I said previously. I said we need to always have the best guests we can find. So I went back through my DMs and I pulled an old conversation. This person I reached out to about a year ago to set this up. And I said, man, I would love to be able to get you on the podcast if we can at some point. And of course, he said yes, because he has a little break between studying run game techniques and getting everything out there. So we have my guy who's a senior data analyst for PFF. Ooh, big time brand there. Senior data analyst, Mr. Nick Akridge. Nick, welcome to the podcast, baby. How you feeling, brother?
I'm good, man. That was a hell of an intro.
Hey, man,
definitely the best intro I've gotten so far.
Hey, man, tell that to your other podcast you on, man. Tell them I set the bar kind of high, man.
Yeah, 100%. I guess I just got to record that and send it to them.
Hey, no problem, man. We can definitely cut that out and send it to you, man. But Nick, man, I appreciate you for coming through, man, and stopping by the show, man. And people don't know about you. Nick, give everybody a brief rundown, man, of who you are and what you do, man.
Yeah, so title is senior data analyst. At PFF. Started there kind of in 2017 part time, got full time 2019, and just kind of took off from there. I've learned a ton through PFF and kind of all the training we had there, and but I've always been a Washington fan. I grew up in Northern Virginia, so my whole life has been cheering for this team, this organization. So it was kind of easy for me to just kind of take the knowledge I gained from PFF and just start basically just putting it out to the public. Everything I do on Twitter is just kind of on my own accord. It's not, really through PFF. So this is just kind of me being a fan and putting some of my thoughts out.
Hey, man, we love that, man. And on this show, man, we love that people bringing some in-depth knowledge and details. We had a few episodes ago, we had beat reporter Lake Lewis on dropping some great nuggets and gems, and we had Rio, Rambling with Rio show. Make sure you follow him, man, giving the fans perspective. But I said we needed some numbers, man. You need to help us learn how to count, man. Like the old Sesame Street joint, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, you know what I mean? Like, help us count, man. We're gonna look at this stuff by the numbers. But before we get into that, Nick, man, I want to also let everybody know, man. Follow Nick on X, man. PFF_ Nick Akridge on X, man. Follow him. So much details, and you might want to look at his pinned tweet that he has up there. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but I want you to check that out, man. He's one of the many people that is definitely right about some details about our quarterback, Jaden Daniels. But before we get into that, Nick, man, Commanders are coming off a big win against the Cincinnati Bengals, a 7.5-point underdog to the 0-2 Bengals. Commanders moved to 2-1 on Monday Night Football, beating the Bengals in dramatic fashion. Jaden Daniels looking like a superstar. Tress Way is really working on his golf swing on the sideline, not punting. Nick, as a fan, just give me your initial thoughts on how the team has been playing through 3 weeks and how Jaden Daniels is really taking the league by storm.
Yeah, as a fan, it's so exciting. I mean, so yesterday, I don't usually get a chance to kind of sit down with friends and watch, the games anymore because I'm usually working them during Sundays, and Sundays are usually really busy. So anytime they get a primetime game, I'm always kind of paying closer attention, get together with some friends and actually watch it. Usually in the past, that doesn't go too well for him. Primetime games are usually not the best, but last night it was just great to kind of finally sit there and enjoy some really good football. I mean, it was really, really good football, and we don't really get to see that very often. So I'm just kind of hoping that's the start of something bigger.
Now, Nick, I'll tell you, man, I told you before we came on the air, man, I was traveling this past weekend. So yesterday was the last leg of my trip, and I had to watch the game on a Southwest flight, leaving Orlando to back to BWI. Man, let me tell you, that was so difficult to do, man, because when I watch the game, you see the TV going behind me, man. I'm sitting in front of that, I'm loud, I'm proud. My daughter's sitting next to me, screaming and hollering. And I don't know if you understand how hard it was for me to have to sit on my hands on that flight and not scream and holler when Jaden Daniels is throwing a bomb to Terry McLaurin and making it look easy, man. It was so tough. I know you were having a good old time being able to just sit and watch, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough game to be on a flight for. Maybe game one would be a better one for that one, but not last night. No, last night was fun. Like I said, it's fun to finally watch good football again, man. It's been so long. It's fun to watch an exciting young quarterback that I mean, it's game 3 and we're already talking some crazy stuff with him, but it's just exciting. It's just a fun time, and you don't have that that thought in the back of your mind of what the hell is the owner going to do? What the hell is all that sort of stuff going on? So we can, I don't know. There's just excitement. It's really exciting.
It feels good, man, just to be able to talk about football. And you notice
Mm-hmm.
that with the media, like today's media rounds were ridiculous. We're Cinderella now, man. Like
Yeah.
everybody loves us. Everybody loves Jaden. And going to Jaden, man, and I talked about your pinned tweet earlier on X, man. Your pinned tweet is from before the draft, and you gave an in-depth scouting report on Jaden Daniels, and you hit it right on the head, man. You were right, man. You one of the pundits that were right. And a lot of people had the toss up between Jaden and Drake May, and me being a Carolina fan, I'll even have to admit I wanted Drake. I mean, if I can get two Carolina quarterbacks back to back, what? You know what I mean?
So I was a big Drake May fan, but some people think that kind of in this industry, people think that if you're a fan of one guy, you can't possibly be a fan of another. But I
Exactly.
thought all 3 of these quarterbacks were really, really good, and I think Washington had a fantastic opportunity, and it was kind of hard to mess that up with the 3 of them there. I had Drake May slightly above Jane Daniels, but that didn't mean that I thought Jane Daniels was going to be a bad quarterback. I was ecstatic, watching his film and with that pick. But yeah, I mean, I think all 3 are going to be incredible.
Yeah, man. I think Jaden just kind of getting out of the shoots fast. Starting early, 3 weeks in, protecting the football, no turnovers. Other than 2 kneel downs, we've scored on. Is it 13 drives? Had 13 scoring drives between the
I've
past 2
lost
weeks.
count.
Yeah, it's crazy. And something you mentioned in your scouting report, the dual threat quarterback a coach dreams of. Jaden Daniels fits the mold of a modern day quarterback who can take any run to the house while also delivering accurate passes all over the field. Nick, I mean, could you have been any more right, brother?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's just what was on his tape. I mean, it's what was all over his tape, and he was the type of guy that, yes, he's got that athletic ability where he can go run and go get you 50, 60 yards, but when he would stay in the pocket and when he would, operate within the pocket, he's a guy that could make every single throw. We saw it last night. We saw it in college. He was just that type of guy. I mean, I had a bunch of different comps for him. He reminds me a lot of RG3's play style.
Yeah.
Maybe not the same running style, but in terms of play style of, incredible deep ball, really good RPO game, great, long running ability, vertical running ability. And so, reminded me a lot of that. Hopefully there's a better health track there, but there was a lot to really, really like on his tape.
Absolutely. And Nick, you also went on to say that Daniels is not just a fantastic athlete in terms of running the ball, but he can also make any throw, especially the deep ball. That's something that we
Yep.
got a chance to see on display against the Bengals, where they missed Terry early, but he went back to it and he kept finding Terry. I mean, talk about his passing ability, Nick, and how he's able to be a thrower of the football, man.
Yeah, so at LSU, it was there's a lot of deep shots. A lot of deep shots at LSU when you got, Malik Neighbors and the guy that the Jaguars drafted, Brian Johnson. Am I going crazy with that name?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, Brian Thomas. There it is.
Thomas. Yes.
Yeah, so he could just hit every single throw. He had a 99.2 passing grade on deep throws, on 20+ yard throws, which is almost near perfect. 69.1 adjusted completion percentage, which is way above average for 20-yard throws. So he showed in college that he can hit these deep balls, and so people kind of were getting a little anxious, getting a little nervous. We hadn't seen one yet in the NFL, but the film of weeks 1 and 2 kind of showed that those plays were open. He wasn't really comfortable hitting them just yet. We saw it in week 1 that he'd missed Terry on that one in the Bucs game, and got a little afraid when he missed the one last night. But he clearly came back in a big way on that one. But yeah, he's got the deep ball, he's got the intermediate ball, he's accurate to all levels of the field. So there's a lot to really like there.
Absolutely. And everybody, if you're watching right now, make sure you follow Nick on X, man, PFF_Nick Akridge, man, for the latest and greatest with all these details and information, giving us by the numbers. And of course, since you're there, you can also stop right here, hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube, youtube.com/breakingcommandpod, hit that notification icon so when every new episode drops. I have a whole lot more content down the pipeline very soon with a lot of your previous guests that was on the show. So make sure you check it out. So Nick, man, I'll tell you, man, I one thing I thought about this coaching staff, me and D Mitty mentioned this a few episodes ago. I feel like this coaching staff is very reactionary in this way. One thing we saw last year, when something didn't work, they were still going to try to press it and still try to put the square peg in the proverbial round hole. This year it feels like the coaching staff, if something's not working, they come back and retool with the following week and kind of do anything to get Jaden comfortable. You saw the progression from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. Talk about how this coaching staff has really helped with the growth of Jaden Daniels to this point.
Yeah, I mean, weeks 1 and week 2, I think that they were super conservative in what they were doing on offense, and we saw it really kind of start to open up in the second half of the Giants game. And I don't know if that was by plan. They were always kind of try to bring him along really slowly, but you saw it kind of really start to open up. And he was missing some stuff, and there's some stuff there that I was talking about that you would kind of expect an NFL veteran quarterback to make. And a rookie on his second start, you're kind of like hoping he would make those throws, but you're not going to be too upset if he's not making those throws. But last night, kind of seeing him really just kind of transform from that week 1, week 2 stuff where you're just kind of hoping he makes those throws, makes those plays, to week 3 where he is. It's pretty incredible to see in just 3 weeks. I mean, one of my biggest concerns was always when he scrambles, he's always scrambling to run. He's never scrambling to throw. Yeah. One of the biggest knocks on him in college, it was a problem weeks 1 and week 2, but in week 3 there was at least 5 or 6 throws that he's making on the run, and that's just massive for somebody who's got his ability to run downfield like he does. And if you can kind of add that factor in that he can still throw the ball on the run too, it just adds a whole nother level to this defense.
Nick, it's funny watching him, man, because even in the week 1 loss, right, it just feels like he's been playing football forever. And being a 5-year starter in college kind of gives you that, but he just seems he seems so calm. I was talking to one of my guys at work, and he just said he just feels like he's been there before. They trust him in situations that you normally wouldn't trust a rookie quarterback in. Going forward on the fourth down situations, really putting the ball in his hands, allowing him to just do the thing. Like, where does this confidence in this like where does this come from, man? Like how are they trusting him so early in his career?
That's a great question. I mean, you see rookies kind of come in with confidence and whatnot, but he's kind of just calmly confident, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. He doesn't have that kind of cockiness to him. And like a Caleb Williams, not saying Caleb Williams cockiness is a bad thing. I love the way Caleb kind of carries himself. I think it's great for him. But Jaden has this kind of calmness around him that just really kind of helps him. He's never too high, never too low. And it's a huge kind of quality that you're looking for in some of the best quarterbacks, that when it goes bad, he's not going to, kind of just, take it too hard. He's going to be able to kind of just bounce back the next play and make up for it.
Absolutely. Now, Nick, we've been talking a lot about Jaden, but the Commanders team as a whole, playing through 3 weeks at 2-1. Um, what like as far as the numbers, how is this team trending going forward for the season? What are they doing numerically? What are they doing best? What what are the areas of improvement? What are you seeing in some of the trends as you break down film on a week to week basis?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is kind of what I mentioned before, is that this offense is starting to open up. And um, I was talking about it. I don't even remember where, but I was talking about it last week that you know these shots for Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey, they're going to come. Like they're bound to happen because the two of them are getting open. They're getting open consistently, and it's up to Jaden to start hitting them. And he did right away. But those were some of the things that the underlying, the numbers were not looking great for those two. They just weren't. But if you were watching the film and you were kind of keeping an eye on them and keeping an eye on what Cliff was doing with his offense, you weren't overly concerned. And you could kind of see that, in the future they would have success. And I didn't think it would be the very next week, but that's kind of what happened. As far as, that was for the receiving game, but
Yeah.
pass blocking, it's been a bit up and down. Some of their grades have looked a little bit better than how their actual play has been, just because, the first couple of weeks they've been getting the ball out so quickly. So that's just going to kind of inflate the grades a little bit because they just don't have a chance to lose their rep yet. But last week or Monday was incredible. I mean, that was one of the best pass blocking performances I've seen from a Commanders team in a long time. And I don't know if that's great Commanders play or bad Bengals play, but whatever it is, it needs to happen more often because he had some really, really clean pockets back there for a long time too.
I mean, they schemed it up very well. And like you said, clean pockets, able to just sit back there and kind of just, make sandwiches and enjoy himself back there in that pocket, man. With that passing game opening up, it's been set up really by the run game with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler out the backfield. Man, this run game, what do you think about this run game going forward and how they'll be able to effectively run the football and allow Jaden to open up the offense?
I think it's really unique. I think it's a really unique run game that they have right now, and it's set up a lot by the screens. And there's been a lot of talk about Cliff Kingsbury and his obsession with screens, but these screens are pretty much run plays. They're an extension of your run game. It's just a way to stretch a defense horizontally, get a numbers advantage either on the outside or in the box, and it's just another run play. They're not as fun to watch as a nice, well executed running play, but they serve a purpose, and that's to kind of lighten the box. And it's worked these past 2 weeks, and the ground game has been really, really successful. But part of that comes from having someone like Jade Daniels back there, where you can run these read options on short yardage situations, and the defense is almost always going to be wrong. Like, just because of the athletes that you have in the backfield, they're just going to be wrong. Like, if you want to take the dive, then Jaden's sneaking out for a first down. If you want to try to contain Jaden, then Brian Robinson's getting an easy 2 yards. So it just adds another stress to the defense, and that's what having a running quarterback and a great dual threat quarterback can do. And it just helps an already good running game.
And Nick, with the lack of turnovers, man, with a rookie quarterback, I mean, not turning the ball over in 3 games. I mean, I don't know if there's a number that can go to that because I mean, they've been trotting out the fact that Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions in his first season, and of course he turned out to be a Hall of Famer. But just the way he protects the football, I mean, this got to be historical at this point through 3 weeks. The way he's protecting the football.
So we track at PFF, we track turnover worthy plays, and that's essentially those type of plays where if you fumble the ball, whether that ball is picked up by the offense or the defense, it's still a turnover worthy play because you put the ball on the ground. Same with interceptions that are dropped by defenders. Those are turnover worthy. Jane Daniels has one this year, and that was on the strip sack against the Bucks. So usually, sometimes when you see numbers like 0 interceptions on the season, there's kind of some underlining turnover worthy play numbers that kind of show that he's going to kind of come back to reality, but not really with Jaden. I mean, he's has one. I mean, there's not many other quarterbacks that can say that. It's Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Malik Willis, who's played a little bit less than the rest of them, Geno Smith and Jacoby Brissett. Those are the only guys that have one or less right now. If you compare that to some of the other rookie quarterbacks, Caleb Williams has 6, Bo Nix has 5, and so it's just impressive. It's something that he did really, really well at LSU. Sometimes I wish he does it a little too well. Sometimes I want you to take those risks. And that was kind of a little bit of a concern through the first 2 weeks. Something I touched on a little bit, that I want him taking some risks into some tighter windows. See what he can get away with. He's got a great arm. So there's no reason to kind of be afraid of taking those chances. But he did last night, and it worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. Nick, I will not bore you with the defense because I need to dedicate a whole episode to talk about how bad this defense is playing. Hopefully next time I bring you on, we'll be able to just talk about defense with the defensive numbers.
Yeah, so I can touch on them just a little bit. Like,
go ahead.
There, you kind of touched with it. You touched on it with the coaching staff not really kind of just doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's not working. They completely flipped what they do on defense last week or on Monday compared to the first 2 weeks. They played a lot of single high stuff. They like to run a lot of cover 3 where they're blitzing 5 guys. They ran none of that last night. They played a ton of cover 2. They played some man coverage, which killed them. Every single time they played man coverage, they got destroyed. But they played a lot of cover 2 man, and that is a complete flip from what they did these past 2 weeks. So it still didn't work too well, but they are trying something. They're trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of maximize what you have, because we all kind of know that the secondary is rough right now. But they're not just sitting there trying to do the same thing over and over again and praying it works.
Yeah, man, they're trying, man. And I think, I don't know if there's a number for tackling, but they got to just tackle better, man. Some of these situations, man, they got to tackle better.
It's one of the biggest problems with their run game stuff right now. Like, it's very frustrating because they'll fit the run correctly, but then they'll miss the tackle, and if they're not fitting the run correctly, they're still missing tackles. So missed tackles are always going to be a problem.
Absolutely. Everybody locked in right now. Make sure you follow Nick on X for all the latest and greatest on Commanders and NFL information. Let me. He provides information for all 32 teams. Okay, guys.
I do.
All 32 teams.
Barely. It's like 95% Commanders related, but I do write a weekly article on a quarterback from performance from the past week. So trying to slowly branch away from just Commander stuff, but it's hard to leave them.
It's hard when you love them, man. I know it, man.
Especially now that they're good. It would have been easier a couple years ago, but
it's gonna be hard, man, because everybody's talking about them, just like we are right here on Breaking Command. Make sure you like and subscribe right here, youtube.com/Breaking Command Pod. And of course, while you're there, just go step over to X. When you're following Nick, come on, follow us, Breaking Command Pod on X. Nick, before we get out of here, man, the Commanders are taking on the Cardinals in Arizona this week. It's gonna be a tough game, man. Initial thoughts on how the game is going to go. What are some of the things you're looking forward to seeing? What can we expect as fans watching this game with a 4 p.m. start against the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little nervous of how it's going to go for our defense again. I kind of thought the same thing with the Bengals, and turned out to be right, but I was not expecting the offense to kind of keep pace with them. But the Cardinals provide some kind of interesting looks. They do a lot of like heavy personnel where they're running 2-3 tight ends out there, and that's going to really test your run defense, and it's something that Washington's kind of struggled with. And again, it's going to test your tackling. Like, you're going to have to tackle. You're going to have to make plays in space. And then you've got Kyler Murray playing arguably the best any quarterback's been playing so far this season with Marvin Harrison Jr. They have a very – it's not sneaky anymore, but they have a very, very good offense, and it's going to definitely test this defense again. So you're going to have to kind of keep up on the offensive side. So I think the streak of consecutive scoring drives might come to an end. I hope it doesn't, but you're definitely going to have to keep up with them, because we've seen this defense they're not going to do much. So you're going to have to score.
Absolutely. Nick, man, I told you, man, we're not gonna keep you long, man. We just wanted some information on our team, man. And before we let you get out of here, man, I know we've provided the link on X for to follow you, but tell everybody what you got going on, anything coming down the pipeline over with PFF, and what some of the other things you have going on in the works, man.
Yeah, man, Everything I do is on Twitter. So everything I kind of post, if I'm writing an article for PFF, I'll post it on Twitter. Been doing a lot of podcasts recently because for whatever reason people want to talk to the PFF guy when Jaden Daniels breaks the scoring record there. But yeah, everything I got going on is on Twitter.
Awesome, Nick. We appreciate you, man. And everybody out there watching, man, we appreciate you guys for checking in. Of course, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And every Wednesday, dropping a new episode of Breaking Command at D&D Football Podcast. Who knows who we'll have on next week? We talked about numbers. Maybe we'll get somebody with some boots on the ground. So you got to make sure you hit the notification button so you can see who's on next week. But Nick, we appreciate you again, man. And we'll get out of here. Everybody, peace and love. And let's get another dub against Arizona.